This is the Advanced Assembly Editing Quick Tour. During this quick tour, we will discuss how to edit the assembly information on the Takeoff and Pricing tabs. Editing an assembly may include editing labor hour quantities. Editing may also include adding or removing parts or changing the quantity of parts in an assembly. You can edit an assembly from either the Takeoff or the Pricing tab. Click on the Takeoff and see that you can edit the three-way Decorah switches assembly by clicking on the information icon after the assembly name. You can also bring up the same screen by selecting the Pricing tab and clicking the information icon after the assembly here. We will edit the three-way Decorah switches assembly on this screen. On this screen, we see two tabs. The first tab is the Parts and Labor tab, and the second tab is the Rooms tab. Right now, we will focus on the Parts and Labor tab. At the top of this screen, you will see the name of the assembly. The first column shows us the rough-in labor hours and the finished labor hours, as well as the parts descriptions. The second column shows us the quantities. For rough-in and finished labor, the quantities are typed in hours, so 0.17 would be about 10 minutes. If it were 0.25, that would be about 15 minutes. 0.5 would be a half an hour. The quantities of the parts are self-explanatory. The third column shows us the cost. The first two lines show the cost of the labor as set in the Pricing tab. After the second line, we see the cost of the parts, which is taken from the information on the parts list. In the fourth column, we see the markup. The first two lines show the markup, which is taken from the company information and can be changed in the Pricing tab for each estimate. The markup of the parts is taken from the information on the parts list. The fifth column shows the unit price of the labor or the parts by multiplying the cost times the markup. So for an example, we will look here at the cost of 9 cents times the markup of 40% to get 13 cents. The sixth column shows a cost subtotal calculated by multiplying the unit cost times the quantity. So here again, we take 9 cents times 3, and we get 27 cents. The seventh column shows the price subtotal calculated by multiplying the unit price times the quantity. So here we will take 13 cents, times it by the quantity of 3 to get 39 cents. To remove a part from an assembly, simply right-click and select Remove. To add in a part to an assembly, use the Parts list to the right of the screen. You can scroll up and down in the list, or you can use the quick filter to help you find a part. Once you find it, double-click on it to add it to the assembly. Below the table of parts and labor, you will see the grand totals for both the cost and the price. These are read-only and are based on the contents of the table. Below the grand totals is the override field. If the override field contains a value, then the assembly will be priced according to that override price. If not, the assembly will be priced based upon the grand total price. In fact, the cost, the price, and the override fields in the assembly editing screen are the cost, the basic, and the override columns in the Pricing tab. Again, you can change your override value from either the Pricing tab or the assembly editing window. Click on the information icon after the assembly name. See that the grand total cost for this assembly is $27.50. Click OK and see that the value is in the cost column on the Pricing tab. Click on the information icon from the Pricing tab and see that the grand total price is $39.82. Click OK again to see that it is $39.82 in the basic column and is rounded to $40 in the current total because the rounding method is set to round to the nearest quarter. Click on the info icon one more time and set the override price to $45. Click OK, and you will see $45 in the override column and in the current column. Going back into the assembly editing window one last time, we see that this assembly shows a caution. The caution simply tells us that this assembly is located in more than one room on the takeoff, and that any changes made will affect the assembly in each room that it is located in. To see a list of all the rooms this assembly is in, simply click on the Rooms tab. This assembly is located in the basement and the dining room. Since we overrode the price of this assembly to $45, we are changing the price of this assembly in both rooms on the takeoff. Going to the takeoff, we will see the three-way Decora assembly in the basement and in the dining room. Notice the price of $45 in the assembly price column. Let's now look at the smoke detectors assembly, which does not have an override price. The basic price is $61.24. On the pricing tab, we see that $61.24 is rounded to $61.25. This current price will show up here in the price column on the takeoff. For more information on estimating with Best Estimate Pro, watch our other quick tours or call us toll-free for a free training session.